Have you ever sat back and wondered why, no matter how carefully you plan everything, life still finds a way to throw chaos into the mix? You've got your routines, you use the productivity tools, you follow the systems, you've read the books, listened to the podcasts, you do your best to stay on track. And yet, bam, out of nowhere, something happens. A plan derails, a goal slips out of reach. It feels like you're playing a game where the rules change without warning. For years, we've been sold the idea that control is the secret sauce to success, that if we just plan hard enough, track everything, and perfect each aspect of our lives, happiness, security, and fulfillment will be inevitable. But what if that belief, the pursuit of total control, isn't the solution? What if it's actually what's keeping you stuck, anxious, frustrated, disappointed? What if the very thing you've been chasing is the thing that's holding you back? Today, I want to challenge everything you think you know about control. I want to flip the script. Because maybe, just maybe, real power isn't about controlling every outcome. Maybe it's about learning how to let go, about being able to face uncertainty not with fear, but with openness. Look around. Our world worships control. Everywhere you turn, there's an app, a system, or a life hack designed to help you optimize, manage, and master your time, your habits, your body, your mind. The message is loud and clear: control everything, and you'll win at life. But deep down, you already know that's not how life works. How many times have you mapped out your day, only to have a last-minute emergency throw your whole schedule off? How many times have you followed the rules, played it safe, made the right moves, only to be met with randomness or chaos anyway? Psychologist Daniel Kahneman once explained that our brains are wired to overestimate how much control we actually have. We tell ourselves stories that make it seem like we're in charge, like we're steering the ship. But in reality, so much of what shapes our lives is out of our hands: the economy, the weather, a stranger's bad mood, a random twist of fate. We blame ourselves when things go wrong, even when they weren't our fault. And the irony? The more we try to control everything, the more powerless we feel when things go sideways. So why do we cling so tightly to control? Because underneath it all is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of not being prepared. Our brains are survival machines. They're built to predict danger, to prepare us for threats. And uncertainty, that feels like danger. It feels like walking blindfolded through a forest. Every rustle in the bushes becomes a threat. But here's the problem, that survival instinct backfires in modern life. Instead of helping us, it makes us obsess. We overthink. We plan obsessively. We try to map out every detail. And that stress, it never goes away. You wake up with it. You go to sleep with it. You carry it in your shoulders, in your breath, in the tightness in your chest. It's exhausting. Here's the paradox. The more you try to avoid uncertainty, the more of it you end up creating. You fight the tide, and it pushes back harder. Think about your relationships. Have you ever tried to control how someone behaves? Maybe a partner, a friend, a colleague. What happens? They push back. Tension rises. Connection fades. In your career, it's the same. You try to control every detail to prevent failure. But when things don't go exactly as planned, you crash harder. You burn out. You wonder what you did wrong. So if control isn't the answer, what is? Acceptance. Not passive resignation, not giving up, but a shift in mindset. Acceptance is about recognizing that life is uncertain by nature. It always has been. And that's not a flaw, it's a feature. When you stop fighting that truth and start embracing it, something incredible happens. You start living in the present. You start building real resilience. You stop wasting energy trying to predict what can't be predicted, and you start responding to what's actually in front of you. This idea isn't new. Ancient philosophies like Taoism and Stoicism have been preaching it for centuries. Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, once said, By letting it go, it all gets done. The world is won by those who let it go. But when you try and try, the world is beyond winning. Read that again. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. It's about flowing like a river, finding your way through the terrain, not bulldozing over it. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said it like this: some things are up to us, and some things are not. He reminds us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our responses, and let go of everything else. So maybe, just maybe, success isn't about tightening your grip. Maybe it's about loosening it, letting go of the illusion of control and leaning into something deeper, more powerful, more human. Let's sit with that idea for a moment. What if trying to control everything is the very thing that's keeping you from the life you want? Let's be real. The constant striving to stay ahead of uncertainty isn't just exhausting, it's disempowering. The pressure to micromanage every detail creates this endless loop of stress and self-doubt. And when things don't go as planned, which they inevitably won't, you start to think, maybe I just didn't try hard enough. Maybe it's me. But it's not you. It's the system you've been taught to follow. And here's the twist. By letting go, by embracing uncertainty instead of fearing it, you actually gain more power, not less. Because in that space of not knowing, something opens up, something deeper, something more creative, more flexible, more alive. Think about it. How many of your most meaningful moments, your biggest breakthroughs, came out of a situation you didn't plan? A job you stumbled into, a relationship that started unexpectedly, a challenge you didn't see coming, but somehow rose to meet. Life has a way of surprising us when we stop trying to script every scene. And that's not just philosophical, it's deeply practical. For example, when you loosen your grip on control, your stress levels drop, significantly. That constant tension, that anxiety humming under the surface, it starts to fade when you stop expecting yourself to predict and perfect everything. You become more creative. You start to see options you didn't notice before. You take risks, not reckless ones, but bold ones. You're no longer afraid to try something new because you're no longer terrified of things not going perfectly. That's huge. It also changes how you show up in relationships. When you stop trying to shape people into who you need them to be, you give them space to be themselves. And that's where real connection starts. Think about someone close to you, a friend, a partner, a sibling. How would your relationship change if you released the need for them to act a certain way or meet your every expectation? What would happen if you trusted them more and tried to control them less? Trust invites closeness. Control pushes people away. And in your career, same thing. Micromanaging every move might give you the illusion of productivity, but it often leads to burnout. It narrows your focus so much that you miss the big picture. You become reactive instead of strategic, tense instead of inspired. But when you learn to adapt, to roll with the punches, you unlock a new level of performance. You become resilient, agile, someone who can lead through change, not just manage tasks. So if letting go of control brings so many benefits, how do we actually do it? Let's break it down. Here are a few ways to start shifting your mindset from control to acceptance. Detach from specific outcomes. This one's tough. We're so trained to obsess over the end result. Did I hit the goal? Did I succeed? That we forget the value of the journey. But real growth happens in the process. In the trying. In the showing up. So instead of measuring success by whether everything went exactly as planned, measure it by how present and engaged you were. Did you give it your all? Did you learn something new? Then you won, regardless of the outcome. 2. Practice mindful awareness. Every day, take a few minutes to pause. Breathe, reflect. Notice what you're feeling, without judgment. Ask yourself, what am I trying to control right now, and what if I didn't? You'll be surprised how often you're gripping something that doesn't need to be held so tightly. Reframe failure as feedback. This one's key. Failure isn't a dead end, it's data. It's information about what didn't work, so you can get closer to what does. Start asking, what can I learn from this? Or, how might this help me grow? You'll start to see failure not as a threat, but as a teacher. 4. Embrace a growth mindset. Instead of fixating on perfection or fear of mistakes, choose to view every challenge as a chance to grow. Be curious. Stay open. Let life surprise you. 5. Let go of perfectionism. Perfection is a myth, a moving target, a trap. It doesn't exist. What does exist is progress, authenticity, realness, the messy, imperfect process of becoming who you're meant to be. And here's the heart of it. 6. Trust the process, even when things are uncertain, even when you can't see the full path. Trust that life is unfolding in its own way, and that you're strong enough to handle whatever comes. There's a quote from Lao Tzu that says, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Think about that. What possibilities are you missing because you're clinging too tightly to what's familiar? What might open up if you finally allowed yourself to let go? Now let's bring it down to earth. Because all of this, letting go, embracing uncertainty, trusting the process, it might sound inspiring, even liberating, but the real question is, how do we live this? How do we move from just knowing this intellectually to actually doing it in our day-to-day lives? One powerful way is through the lens of creativity. There's a fascinating connection between the urge to control and the ability to create. And if you've ever done anything creative, writing, painting, building something, even brainstorming ideas, you've probably felt this tension. The tighter you try to hold onto your vision, the more frustrated you become when things don't go exactly your way. You're locked in. Every deviation feels like a threat to your plan. But when you relax, when you allow yourself to experiment, to fail, to play, that's when the good stuff happens. Artists talk about flow for a reason. Think about jazz musicians. They don't walk on stage with every note planned. They listen. They respond. They adapt in real time. The result? Music that's alive. That moves people. That couldn't have been created by rigid control. Now imagine your life like that. A kind of jazz performance where you're not following a strict script, but showing up, responding, adjusting, trusting that what you bring in the moment is enough. That's not chaos. That's art. And this idea isn't just for creatives. It applies to anyone who wants to live more fully. You want more joy? Let go. You want more peace? Let go. You want more energy, more inspiration, more life? Let go. Because when you're constantly trying to grip everything, there's no room left for discovery. But when you open your hands, even just a little, you make space for something new. Now, zooming out a bit, let's talk about the broader picture. This obsession with control. It's not just personal, it's cultural. It shapes how we work, how we lead, how we govern, and how we relate to each other on a societal level. In politics, in business, even in our communities, when people in power try to dictate every outcome, when systems are built on rigid rules and top-down control, what happens? People resist, innovation stalls, division grows. But when leaders are flexible, when they empower rather than dictate, something different happens. People come alive, creativity flourishes, solutions emerge from unexpected places. So now ask yourself this: what would our world look like if we stopped obsessing over control and started cultivating adaptability instead? What if our workplaces rewarded experimentation over perfection? What if our schools taught kids how to navigate uncertainty instead of punishing them for mistakes? What if our relationships were based on curiosity and trust instead of pressure and expectation? The possibilities are massive, but it starts with you, with your mindset, with your willingness to live this truth on a personal level. So take a second and think back. Can you recall a time when things didn't go your way? A time you planned something down to the smallest detail, and it still fell apart. Maybe it was a vacation that got ruined by weather, a career move that didn't pan out, a conversation that didn't land the way you hoped. Now think, what happened next? Did something unexpected open up? Did you grow in a way you didn't anticipate? Did it lead to something better, not because it was what you planned, but because you adapted? Those moments, that's where the magic lives. They're reminders that you don't have to control everything to move forward. In fact, you can't, and that's okay. So let's shift into action mode again. Here are a few more tools to help you build this mindset into your daily life. 1. Daily journaling. Set aside a few minutes each day to reflect on where you tried to control and where you let go. What happened in each case? What did you learn? This simple practice builds self-awareness and helps you see patterns you might otherwise miss. Mindful breathing. When you feel that anxiety rising, that pressure to lock things down, pause. Take a few deep breaths. Focus just on your breath, in and out. Remind yourself, I don't need to control everything. I can respond in the moment. That one sentence can shift your entire perspective. 3. Get outside. Seriously, nature is one of the best teachers of flexibility. Go for a walk. Watch how the trees sway, how the clouds move, how the seasons change without needing a plan. The natural world adapts constantly and still thrives. Let it remind you that uncertainty is not the enemy. It's just life. 4. Open dialogue. Talk to someone about your struggles with control. A friend, a mentor, a therapist, whoever you trust. When you hear yourself speak these thoughts out loud, it's like taking the weight off your shoulders, and chances are they've been through the same thing. You're not alone in this. Remember, embracing uncertainty isn't about being passive. It's about being responsive. It's not about giving up. It's about giving in to a deeper kind of wisdom. And when you practice that regularly, you begin to transform, not just your mindset, but your life. Let's get something straight. This isn't just a mindset shift, it's a lifestyle transformation. Because once you start embracing uncertainty, once you release that constant need for control, your entire experience of life starts to change. You begin to move differently, think differently, feel differently. You start noticing how much energy you used to spend trying to control things that were never yours to control in the first place. People's opinions, random events, timing, outcomes. And now, with that weight off your shoulders, you breathe easier, you sleep better, you show up to your life with a kind of calm, a kind of clarity that wasn't there before. But this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice. It takes intention. You're building a new mental muscle, learning how to stay present and grounded even when things feel chaotic or uncertain. That's not weakness. That's strength at a level most people never reach. And here's the thing. Every time you let go of control, you create space for something better to grow in its place. More compassion, more patience, more curiosity. And one of the biggest shifts, you stop viewing life as a battle to be won and start seeing it as a dance to move through. That's not just poetic, it's deeply practical. Let's look at relationships again, whether it's romantic, friendship, family, or work. Control often creeps in without us even realizing it. We try to manage other people's reactions. We want them to behave a certain way. We expect them to meet unspoken standards. And when they don't, we get disappointed, hurt, even angry. But ask yourself, what would happen if you let go of the need to shape other people's behavior? What if you just let them be? You'd likely experience fewer arguments, less frustration, and more authentic connection. Because when people feel free to be themselves, they're more open, more real, more likely to meet you halfway, and your connection becomes something rooted in trust rather than performance. Same goes for your career. So many people burn out not because they're lazy or unmotivated, but because they're trying to control outcomes that are simply out of their hands. You can't force a promotion. You can't control market shifts. You can't predict every team decision. But what you can control is how you show up, how you respond, how you grow through the uncertainty. And that kind of mindset, it gets noticed. It creates opportunity. Now let's get really practical again, because while all of this sounds good in theory, you might still be thinking, okay, but what do I actually do when life throws me off course? So here are a few more simple but powerful strategies to help you live this out. Recenter with what's in my control. Whenever you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, ask yourself that one question. What's actually in my control right now? Maybe it's your breath, your next step, your attitude. Focusing on just that can break the cycle of panic and help you take calm, grounded action. 2. Normalize uncertainty. The more you talk about it, the less scary it becomes. Journal about it. Laugh about it. Share stories with friends. You'll start to realize everyone else is riding the same wave. You're just finally learning how to surf it. 3. Develop planned flexibility. Instead of rigid plans, start building flexible ones. For example, set your goals, yes, but give yourself room for how you get there to shift. Create plan A, but be open to B, C, or even Z if needed. That openness creates resilience. 4. Start saying, let's see what happens. This little phrase is a game changer. Instead of saying, this has to go perfectly, try, let's see what happens. It lowers the stakes. It turns every experience into an experiment, a learning moment, a story in the making. 5. Celebrate adaptability. Most people only celebrate success, but what if you started celebrating how well you adapted, how you pivoted, how you stayed grounded? That shift alone builds confidence that doesn't depend on outcomes. And now, let's return to one powerful image that ties all of this together. Imagine the ancient art of calligraphy. A master calligrapher doesn't grip the brush with tension. They don't force every stroke. Instead, they flow. They let the ink move with their hand, letting the brush respond to the paper, the movement, the moment. The beauty isn't in the precision, it's in the presence. What if your life was like that? Not a rigid design, but a flowing masterpiece, shaped by both intention and spontaneity. Not a checklist, but a living expression of creativity, flexibility, and growth. That's the life that opens up when you stop clinging and start trusting. So here's the big question. Are you ready to live like that? Because once you start, there's no going back. Let's bring it all home now. The truth is, this idea, this whole concept of letting go of control, isn't just philosophy. It's not some feel-good trend or abstract spiritual ideal. It's a practical way of living that can change everything. But to live it, really live it, you have to make a choice. A choice to trust, a choice to stop gripping so tightly, a choice to step into the unknown, not with fear, but with curiosity. Because the paradox is real, the more you fight to control life, the more life seems to push back. But the moment you loosen your grip, something shifts. Possibilities open up. Energy flows differently. You realize that uncertainty isn't a threat, it's a canvas, and what you paint on it. That's up to you. We've talked a lot about mindset and personal tools, but this idea doesn't stop at the individual level. The ripple effect goes far wider. Let's zoom out again. When we let go of control on a cultural and societal level, when we stop pretending we can micromanage every system, every outcome, we actually create space for innovation, empathy, and transformation. In education, that means allowing students to fail, to explore, to take creative risks rather than memorizing answers. In business, it means shifting from rigid hierarchies to collaborative, adaptive teams that thrive in uncertainty. In politics, it means moving away from fear-driven narratives and top-down enforcement and toward inclusion, dialogue, and resilience building. Imagine a world where uncertainty wasn't something to fear, but something to work with. A world that taught people not to conquer life, but to collaborate with it. That's not just idealism. It's strategy. It's how we survive and evolve in a world that's constantly changing. But again, it starts with you. So here's the final challenge. Think back on your life. Moments when things didn't go to plan. Moments when chaos came out of nowhere. Moments when you were forced to adapt. What did those moments teach you? Not just about life, but about yourself. Were those times really your failures, or were they your training ground? Because here's the thing, every setback, every misstep, every derailment, it all forms part of your unique resilience. And every time you surrender to the flow instead of resisting it, you're building something far more powerful than control. You're building courage. You're building adaptability. You're building wisdom. It's not easy, and it's not something you'll master overnight. This is a lifelong practice. You'll still have days where the need for control sneaks back in, where the fear creeps up, where you find yourself over-planning, overthinking, bracing for impact. That's okay. Just catch it, breathe, and gently come back to what you know. You don't have to control everything. You can't control everything, and that's not a problem. That's freedom. So here are a few final reminders to carry with you. Uncertainty is not your enemy. It's your teacher. Control is not strength. Adaptability is. Perfection isn't the goal. Presence is. You don't have to know how everything ends. You just have to keep showing up. And maybe most importantly, you are not falling behind. You are not broken. You are becoming someone who can walk through the chaos with calm. Becoming someone who can show up to life with curiosity, not control. Becoming someone who understands that the beauty of life isn't found in the script, but in the improvisation. So as we wrap this up, let me leave you with one last thought. What if the version of you you're becoming isn't the result of perfect planning, but of brave surrender? What if everything you're looking for, peace, fulfillment, creativity, connection, is waiting for you on the other side of letting go? Let go of what you thought you had to be. Let go of the outcomes you're forcing. Let go of the illusion that you're supposed to have it all figured out. And step into the wild, unpredictable, beautiful dance of becoming who you were always meant to be. Thanks for joining me in this exploration. And if this resonated with you, take a deep breath, look at your life, and ask yourself one simple question. What would happen if I stopped trying to control everything and just started living? Because the answer might be more liberating than you ever imagined. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. Now that we've wrapped the core message, let's take a moment to look at how you can integrate this way of thinking into your everyday life, quietly, consistently, and without making it feel like yet another thing to master. Because the beauty of embracing uncertainty is that it doesn't require a dramatic overhaul. It just asks you to notice, to pause, to shift how you respond. Here are a few final, simple habits that can help reinforce everything we've explored. 1. Begin each day with a grounding phrase. Before you even check your phone or dive into your to-do list, start with one sentence. Something like, I will do my best with what I can control and let the rest unfold. This one small intention can rewire the way you step into your day. 2. Redefine productivity. Instead of asking, did I get everything done? Try asking, did I respond well to what the day brought me? This shift helps you focus on engagement rather than outcome. It makes space for days that don't go as planned, without leaving you feeling defeated. 3. Build in moments of stillness. These don't have to be long or complicated. Just 3 minutes of silence. A walk without music. A few deep breaths at a red light. Let yourself feel what's going on inside, without judgment. That awareness? It's your compass when things get uncertain. 4. Keep a letting go list. At the end of each day, jot down one thing you tried to control and how it made you feel. Then ask, did trying to control this help, or did it drain me? This practice can be powerful over time. You'll start to see where you can soften your grip and where your peace lives. 5. Surround yourself with flexibility. Be around people who don't panic when plans change. Watch how they adapt. Borrow their ease. It's contagious. And more importantly, give yourself permission to be that kind of person too. Ultimately, embracing uncertainty is about learning to live with openness, with presence, with trust in yourself, not in your ability to force outcomes, but in your ability to respond with wisdom, whatever comes. So let me leave you with one last quote. It's from Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That's it, isn't it? Life won't always go your way. Plans will fall through. People will disappoint. Circumstances will shift without warning. But you always have the power to choose how you respond. You can meet uncertainty with fear or with grace, with resistance or with curiosity, with control or with calm. This is the paradox of control. When you stop needing it, you finally find it within. Not in the world around you, but in your ability to live freely, fully, and resiliently within that world. And that's the kind of strength no one can take from you. Thanks again for watching. If this message resonated with you, consider sharing it. Leave a comment. Let me know, what's one area of your life where you're ready to let go? Because that first moment of awareness, that's where the shift begins. See you in the next one.